Well, good afternoon and welcome to Ed's Orchids. Sorry I haven't been on for a few days, of which I apologise. I've been quite busy doing other things. And today I thought we'd just talk about what we feed to our plants. You know, the macronutrients and the micronutrients. I'm going into a bit of detail what they do for the plants. Well, to begin with, macronutrients are things like nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, things like that, and the plant needs those in much larger quantities than it needs the micronutrients, which are things like iron, boron, molybdenum and things like that. So we'll go into each one individually and I'll tell you what they do for the plants, or what they should do for the plants. Well, as you know, we humans also want calcium. You know, it helps to build our bones and things like that, and it also helps the plants to build their cell walls and helps it to grow properly. A deficiency in calcium causes you know, the black tips on new growth, especially on cattleyas, where if they're sending up new growth to cattleyas, you'll find little black tips on them and stuff like that. And calcium also helps the root growth, so you know, don't be short on giving them calcium. The plant will just take up as much as it wants and leave the rest to the new growth, because it's not mobile from one plant to another. It will also show up on plants as dark blotchy patches on leaves, and might get mistaken from sunburn, but sunburn's just a little bit more intense. So if you've got these leaves on your cattleyas that are showing different colours, you know, very dark and light and stuff like that, it's a good bet that you're giving it short of calcium. Now, calcium is best derived from calcium nitrate. Now, calcium nitrate also contains nitrogen, and nitrogen is another of the building blocks of your plants. And nitrogen helps to build the chlorophyll in the leaves, and also is a great one for producing photosynthesis, or should I say it helps in the process of photosynthesis. Now, potassium is also a macronutrient and is a very mobile nutrient. That is to say that it helps in the photosynthesis process, and it also prevents the loss of water to the plant, and it can also make the plant very tolerant to drought. Phosphorus is another macronutrient and is essential for healthy growth of your plants. Now, without going into scientific detail, you have all heard of the transportation of nutrients into plants and one thing and another. This cannot be done without the help of phosphorus. Well, the last macronutrient I'll mention is Epsom salts. Now, everybody knows about Epsom salts. You know, it contains magnesium sulfate, also contains sulfur, and sulfur being a very old-fashioned remedy for insecticides and stuff like that. It can also, if you spray with Epsom salts, it can rid your plant of spider mites, because spider mites hate sulfur. Now, as we all know, Epsom salts, it makes your plant look much greener and a lot healthier. And if you flush your plants with Epsom salts, it also helps to get rid of the build-up of salts in your medium. How long this video is going to last as yet, but I've got to keep it under 15 minutes. So then we'll come on to micronutrients. Now, micronutrients are required by the plant in much less quantities than macronutrients, but they do provide and help in the process of making the plants look good and looking much healthier. Now, iron is a micronutrient and it also helps in the photosynthesis of the plant. And deficiency in iron causes chlorosis and necrosis. Chlorosis being showing as a yellowing of the leaves, and necrosis showing a death of the cells of all the leaves. Molybdenum is another micronutrient which benefits the plant with healthy growth, but a deficiency in molybdenum shows up in the reduction in the number of blooms you get. Boron, another micronutrient, is a bit of a complicated little thing. It works in conjunction with calcium to build the cell walls, and deficiency of it doesn't show up as chlorosis, you know, a yellowing of the leaves. It's a complicated little micronutrient that shows up and gives similar symptoms other than yellow of leaves to other micronutrients when they're deficient. That's all I can say without getting too complicated. Most of the macronutrients, you know, the ones that are needed in large quantities, can be found in singly in most garden centres, and the micronutrients you can get from the liquid seaweed. Well, all in all, if you can get a fertiliser sort of 30-10-10, which is nitrogen, phosphates and potassium, that should do all you need with a little bit of seaweed added. A lot of commercial fertilisers though don't contain calcium, so you've got to add it yourself. And always give your plants that little bit more nitrogen, because your bark will start using the nitrogen in its degradation process. Well, to finish on a bit of a sad note, that's where the Cavacii was a few days ago, and here's where it is now. Absolutely going soft and horrible, and I don't know what caused it, but I thought it would have lasted a lot more than 3 or 4 days. It may be that it's been too warm in this living room for it, or it may be that I haven't kept the pH of the medium up high enough. Anyhow, what I'll do with the next one, when it grows, I'll make sure it has enough pH, and I can grow it just a little bit cooler. Anyhow, well, thank you very much for watching. I hope I've provided a little bit of information that is advantageous to some people, and until next time, I'll see you later.